Continuing with our video, we're on question 7. What is the sum of 3/10 plus 62 hundredths? 3/10, I need to make that a hundredths. 3/10 is equal to how many hundreds? Or 0.3 is the same as 0.30. So we have 30 hundredths. 30 hundredths plus 62 hundredths. We add the top. Remember, the bottom number always stays the same. So we have 92 hundredths. I can only add if the bottom number is the same. C. Notice they tried to trick you because if you just add the top numbers, you get 65. But we know that our like denominators have to be there. Number 8, Sura is comparing decimals. Which statement is true? So if we look at A, we have a 7 in the tenths spot. But when we look at the hundredths, we have a 7 and a 0. So they cannot be equal. If we look at B, the tenth spot, we have a 7 versus an 8. A 7 is less than 8, so we think maybe it could be B. C, this 7 is not bigger than 8, so it can't be C. And D, 0.8 and 0, 8 is not less than 0, so it has to be B. We're comparing 0.77 and 0.8. Remember that our decimal points have to be lined up. Question number 9. David hiked 3 7/10 miles along a trail in the state park. What is the difference written as a decimal? So I have 3 wholes and 3 in the tenths spot. Sorry, not a 3, a 7 in the tenths spot. 3.7. C. Number 10, Rick has $1.27 to buy a notebook. Which decimal names this money amount in terms of dollars? $1 goes in the 1 spot before the decimal. 27 cents goes after the decimal. 1.27. B. Number 11, what is the sum of 4/10 and 40 hundredths? 4/10 is the same as 40 hundredths. Remember, I have to have like denominators to add them. So 40 hundredths plus 40 hundredths is 80 hundredths. And someone might say, well, Mrs. Seifger, that's not one of our choices. It's not. The reason that's not one of our choices is because they simplified 80 hundredths to 8/10. Remember, we can cross out those zeros to make a common fraction. C. C. An orchestra has 100 musicians. 4/10 of them play string instruments: violin, viola, cello, double bass guitar, lute, and harp. What decimal is equivalent to 4/10? So I need a 4 in the tenths spot, the first one to the right of the decimal. If I put a 4 there, the first thing I do is I say, oh, well, they don't match exactly. But if I put a 0 after it, then I have one that matches. P.